Hey everyone.
Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am back with yet another cool Minecraft tutorial. And this time, we're looking at pumpkins, and melons too. So we can all agree that they are really useful in Minecraft. They can be used as food, they can be traded with farmers, and best of all, pumpkins can be used to make golems. But most importantly, they are useful early game. We need them more earlier in the game than later. But the most obvious way of automating their farms are using observers, which is clearly not an early game item. So all this time of manually farming pumpkins until I get to the nether made me think about how I can automate them early game. And I figured it out. I came up with some really neat designs to fully automatically farm pumpkins and melons with 0 observers and basically cheap materials that we would have early game. These require no nether quartz at all. I have some really cheap and early game friendly designs, and also some designs that require a bit more resources, but gives more yield faster and more efficiently while still being cheap comparatively. I think they're pretty cool and kind of a game changer and really useful. I mean, who wouldn't want pumpkins, right? So let's hop into it. All right. So how are we going to automate our pumpkin farm without an observer? Well, remember the torch burnout mechanism? I've gone over it in detail in my previous video, but it's basically a setup where we pass a redstone torch's signal to itself, which causes it to burn out. So the interesting thing about it is that if you place a block adjacent to the torch, it resets the setup, and it flickers and burns out again. So it's kind of like placing a block near it causes an update. Now, this we can use to our advantage to mimic an observer. Like, if we place a pumpkin adjacent to it, it causes an update. So all we have to do is connect a piston to the setup. And then if we were to grow a pumpkin stalk next to it, and make it so that it only grows into that space, and then if a pumpkin were to grow there, like so, it immediately activates the piston. And just like that, it breaks any pumpkin that grows there immediately. And if we were to place a hopper there, then it collects the harvested pumpkins as well. And just like that, we have automated the harvest of pumpkins. So this is the base idea for my designs. It pretty much works almost just like an observer. The only differences are that the piston stays activated for a bit, since it sends around 8 ticks. And more importantly, it needs a bit of a cooldown before it can activate again. So it can't work continuously like an observer, but pumpkins don't grow rapidly anyway, so we're good. And another thing about this is that the update can be caused from any adjacent side. So even if you place or break a block under the torch, it works. And we can use that to make this a bit more compact. So I'm just going to make the same thing 1 block above. And this time, the idea is that the pumpkin goes below the torch. And now we can just place the piston under that, and we have a convenient working setup again. Now we can grow a pumpkin stalk on either side. And another thing I like to do is that the top block could be any solid block. So for a cool aesthetic, I usually place redstone lamps there, so that it glows when activated. But note that it is not a very cheap alternative. Anyways, this is the prototype for our first design. Right now, it's just one pumpkin, so let's make a farm with more. So I'm going to start off by planting 3 pumpkins. Then place some pistons there. And then let's add the setup on top. And then for the collection part, I'm going to use the water. So I'll dig a stream here. And then one more. And now, as you can see, the water flows from that corner to this one, which helps bring anything dropped into the water from anywhere directly to this corner, where we shall place our hopper. And then we could just do the same on the other side as well. And now we could place our chest in the water or out. I'm going to put it inside for compactness. And let's just place the hopper and chests. And now we just got to restrict the growth of pumpkins to the desired spots. So I'll use fences for that. We're going to place it all over so that it also keeps the mobs out. And now, if any pumpkin were to grow, it would get collected nicely. So now we have a working pumpkin farm. And now to make it look more aesthetic, I'm going to use some stairs and blocks to give it a roof. And I think that looks better. It also turns on the light when activated, which is kind of neat. And now we could also add some lanterns for lighting. And of course, you could extend the design to have more pumpkins by, repeating the same. So that is our first fully automatic pumpkin farm design. It is very cheap and also aesthetic. And it's as early game as it gets. Okay, so now we have established that this setup acts like an observer. So So that led me to wonder, just how much does it resemble an observer? So I decided to check if it only updates to block placement and removal, or does it detect other changes, like an actual observer? So now I'm going to try and plant a pumpkin seed adjacent to it. And to our delightful surprise, it did update to that. It even updates when the stalk grows too. And just like that, we have an early game observer, which is also very cheap. I mean, all it takes is a redstone torch and dust and 2 blocks, which is kinda cool, really. It also observes multiple sides as well. So now we can say that this pumpkin stalk is being observed by our setup. But just like I mentioned earlier, there are differences, of course, and let me just quickly demonstrate them. So one difference is the piston activation. And the other difference is that our setup requires a bit of a cooldown. But in our case, these differences don't really cause any problems for us. It's actually great if you think about it. So now all we have to do is set up the pistons, and you could just place it next to the torch like that, and it would work. And this time, it's the stalk that is being observed instead of the pumpkin itself. And we can also place one there. And we can also place hoppers for collection. And I'll add some fences. And now when the stalk grows a pumpkin, it is detected and collected. And this is our prototype for our next design. So in this one, each stalk would get at least 2 spots to grow pumpkins, which might increase their odds of growth, but with the cost of 2 pistons per stalk. So let's go ahead and make the next one. And as expected, it is reacting to the stalk. And that's like one module. Now we just repeat that. And like before, we let the water do the collection. Place the chest and hopper. And then we do the same on the other side. And it's already a functional farm now. I'm just going to replace these with lamps. Now let's just make it more aesthetic. Let's build a roof. add some fences. Ooh, we got a harvest, I guess. And let's complete that. Maybe I should use stairs there. And yeah, that's our next design. Let's just add some lanterns above the stalks for light. And that's that. This one's also cheap, aesthetic, and early game friendly. You could go for the one you like. The first one has 6 stalks and 4 pistons, while the second one has 4 stalks and 8 pistons. I think I like the first one better, but I haven't exactly checked which has better yield and rates, so experts or those who checked can put it in the comments. And that's it for our second design.
So that's it for these 2 super simple and resource-friendly farm designs, which are perfect for automatically farming pumpkins and melons very early in the game. They'll keep you going while you gather more materials and get settled in. But we can definitely do better. And once you've got more resources to spare, we can indeed level up the farm. In part 2, we'll be looking at more efficient and productive farms that require a bit more setup but deliver way better results. So if you're ready to scale up, which Minecraft players usually always are, and make your farming way more effective, definitely check that out next.
And I just want to mention that I came up with these designs myself, after a lot of experimenting, and I hope they make your farming easier too. If you found this helpful, do drop a comment and share it around as much as possible.
Before it gets stolen.
I'm sure your friends would need pumpkins and melons early on too.
Also, do consider subscribing. It would mean a lot. See you in part 2.